My guest Sandra didn't trust her husband because he'd been unfaithful, and they separated twice. She felt like a victim, but not anymore. Her husband is adoring, their marriage feels good, and she knows she has the power to keep it that way. She's going to tell us how she did it so you can do it too. Sandra, welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast. Can't wait to hear your
Hi.
story.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Well, let's go back to the beginning of the bad old days. I always like to hear what was going wrong in your marriage.
Yeah, as I kind of thought about this, this question, I think honestly, it's just best to go right back to the beginning. I guess we met in 1990. Oh gosh, 8. So it's been a long time. We met in Christian camp ministry, and yeah, we met at a summer camp, and it was, there was an attraction there right off the get-go. We started dating in January of '99, and it was long distance from the very beginning, and we were young. And I mean, it was just great right off the beginning, right off the bat. We got engaged 10 months later, and got married in May of 2000. So it was fast, especially for me. I hadn't dated a lot of guys. And it was, yeah, so I moved right out from home to, married life and ministry and just a lot of new stuff. And it was great. I loved it. We had a great marriage. We have a great marriage. We moved, needed some space from ministry, and decided to move quite far from family. And my husband went to school, and, I started working full time, and we just started to really kind of adult at that point, which was just, we were really young. Got pregnant 3 years after we got married, got pregnant very quickly. And I remember, I think the first time that I really started to be kind of a controlling wife, as I like to call it, was when we first had our first son. And that was in 2023. And I just remember he was working 2 jobs, and, I'm now home with this baby, and, I was just so stressed about money and how are we going to pay it for things. And that, I'd say, was like where I remember where I became the most controlling. And yeah, kind of going forward, we had another child a year, I got pregnant pretty quick again, had another son, moved again. We just did a lot of moving, and he's working, and we have these new babies, and we have no family around, and just a lot of stress. And it was hard. We moved again, had our 3rd baby. So I had 3 kids age 3 and under. My son, he turned 3 8 days before our 3rd child was born. And like craziness, like just insane.
I'm hearing that 3 kids, 3, the oldest is 3. Like that's,
yeah. And no family,
no family,
no family around. We had, there's a little, we had a little bit, but nothing, not like your big core family. We had a bit of a church community, which was really helpful, but he was going up the ladder at work, and it was just a lot, just a lot. We didn't really connect a lot, I think, because we had just work, kids, and all that stuff. So we were just kind of, I think, just floating through life at that point. We moved again back closer to my husband's family, and he had a really good job opportunity. And honestly, I would say that we had a really good marriage. And I think a lot of women feel that, I I thought we did. I really did. Like, he's my best friend, and we have these 3 beautiful children, and he's now owner in a business, and I get to stay at home with them. And you know what else could you really want? Really,
Sounds
right?
pretty good.
Like,
It sounds good on paper,
yeah.
for sure.
But really, now that I look back, like, there was so much more that we both wanted. And I think that we were just focused so much on the work and the business and the new house, and we bought a farm, and these 3, my 3 kids, and now they're in sports, and I'm running them around, and it's just that, really, though, looking back, like, that's not really a life, right? It's not really a marriage.
Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
like a bunch of tasks that 2 people are
Yeah. Like,
doing.
and we're just, really just going day by day. Like, yeah, I look back now and I would never want that. I would never want that again. And that wasn't a great marriage.
Well, fill that out for me a little bit more too. Like, so it was just kind of hectic, it sounds like. But
Yeah.
what do you think, what was missing at the time?
Connection. I think we were just both running in separate directions all the time. That at the end of the day, when the kids were finally in bed, I'm exhausted, he's frustrated. You've had, these Cold War moments off and on, and there's just no connection. You go to bed and it's like, you don't even really, like, do I even know my partner? Like, who is this next to me? And I think he was probably feeling the same way. And, I'm exhausted. I'm not really interested in, physical touch. And I know that's his love language. I know that's what he desires. And I just honestly, I didn't care at that point. I want to go to bed, and I don't care.
Were you feeling pretty alone with the childbearing too, since you were the stay-at-home person and he had a business? Was it kind of all on you? It sounds like he was doing some of it too, but how was that for you?
He was working, had a company with some family, and like, so grateful for that. But I got really controlling with our finances. I actually got really controlling with them right off the bat, right from day one of our marriage. And not really sure why. I thought I was the know-it-all of finances at the age of, like, 22, and I lived at home. But apparently I knew better. and I just took it on. And, I just dove in, and I did all the finances. I did all the bill paying, everything that came into our account, I took care of. And it stressed me out, like, unbelievable stress. And I constantly worried. I constantly was like, where's the next paycheck coming? Like, all that stuff. And it was so awful, honestly. There was a lot of drinking on both parts, like both me and my husband, just kind of, I would just wait for that glass of wine at the end of the day, because I was just so overwhelmed. So overwhelmed.
It does. This sounds pretty miserable. Like, you're overwhelmed with the kids. It sounds like overwhelmed about the finances, not feeling connected. Like, you two are like turning on each other, really, with the Cold Wars, like not seeing things the same way.
Big Cold Wars, like, a lot of it over children and what, things that he wanted them to take part in, that I was like, nope, they're not doing that. Because I was the one that had to take them. I was the one that was going to have to be involved. And I really, I put them in what I wanted them to be in. And so, yeah, a lot of Cold Wars about kids, about how to kind of child rear them, like me going and sleeping in another room, because it was going to be my way or the highway, honestly. And man, I think back to those days, like, that was awful, like, awful. Kind of going, just going through the whole, their elementary, junior high years. It was kind of like that. Just, that's the way it was. It was just a lot of disconnect, together but not together.
And kind of a
Um,
survival mode too, it sounds
mhm.
like just trying to get
Yep.
through, get those kids taken care of. And yeah,
Yeah.
it does sound, oh, it sounds stressful.
Yeah. In 2017, we ended up kind of parting ways with the family business, and um, we all, just kind of all went and did our own thing, and which was actually really nice, to be able to do something just us, but that just elevated some more stress. And I ended up going into the office and actually starting to work out of the office with my husband, and that just added another element of stress to the relationship and to the business, because he had been doing it for so long without me there, but I kind of felt like I had been part of it for so long but not there. And so that was just like this new thing that we had to figure out. And then of course the lovely C word COVID hit, and financially, our business was hit really hard, with the industry we were in, and that just like the element of stress that took on us. I mean, the whole world, obviously, but that was really, really hard for us. We Yeah, that was just really hard. Actually, and I skipped a really big part that I don't talk about a lot, but there was, when the business kind of, we split off and got this new business going. My husband was kind of looking at different business ventures and avenues we could take it with, and other ways to make money. And we reconnected with some friends that he had grown up with, and this is kind of where the story gets crazy, but they were longtime friends of ours, and it was really awesome to reconnect with them. Our children were the same age, and it was just really nice to have some friends back in our lives that we had known for so long. And there was some business ventures that we got into with them, and that was exciting. And my husband just lit up, like he was just so excited, and I had never seen him so like passionate about something, and so like dive right in and full of life. And I'm like, whoa, like what is going on here? Like this man is happy. He had stopped drinking by about 7 years by this point. The drinking had stopped, and he was just so happy. And he started taking a lot of business trips with our friend, and I was staying back and with the kids, and her husband was back with their kids, and things were just like looking so positive for both of our families. And it was a really exciting time. And things just started, then all of a sudden there was this shift. And, my husband was just so happy, but it was like we were just like miles apart, like physically and just everything. And I remember thinking like something's going on here. And I've actually talked to my friend, and I said to her, like, you spend a lot of time with him. And like, has he said anything to you? Is there something going, is everything okay? Like, is everything okay with him? I was worried, like, is there a health problem? Like, is something health wise going on? Like, what's happening here? And she's just said, no, like, I don't think so. Like, I don't think anything's wrong. And I was just in tears and over something wrong in my marriage. And it was a few weeks later that I found out that there had been unfaithfulness on his part with her. And I just honestly felt like my entire world like fell out from underneath me. This was in 2018, the summer of 2018. And yeah, it was awful. It was awful.
Awful, awful.
Uh, to have a friend.
Friends,
Yeah.
dear friends
Uh-huh.
that you're in business
Uh-huh.
with too. So,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
oh, like the worst
So
news.
yeah,
And
we, went,
you knew without knowing, it sounds like when you were
I did.
asking her.
I knew something was going on. I didn't at that point know, necessarily with her. But I just knew there was something that was going on. Something was wrong. And I knew something was wrong. I just didn't really know what. So yeah, the truth did come out, and we went to counseling, which honestly, Laura, was like the worst experience of our lives. And it was so awful. And it was awful. It was so awful. I mean,
Sorry.
it was,
That's terrible.
When I read that in your book, and I was like, yep, that was me.
This is heartbreaking.
Yeah, that was really bad. He stayed in the home, and for about a month and a half, and we were trying to work on things. And later in the late fall of 2018, I don't know, it was so much fighting and so many arguments, and this other person was still hanging around and still there and still trying to make business things go. And it was too much. And we did decide for him to leave the house. And so, yeah, he did leave. And I think it helped for a little bit. I think we needed some of that like space. And that's not even when I found your book.
My gosh. Okay. So you find out he's been having this affair, and then did you confront him with it, or he okay.
Yeah, I did it. I remember I still, honestly, I think I was in denial. And I remember folding laundry, and we had our first counseling appointment that day. And I just remember saying, I need to ask you a question. And he just looked at me and shook his head and said, I know what you're going to ask me, and I don't want to answer it right now. And I think I knew then. And we drove to counseling. It was about an hour and a half away because we live in a small town. And I asked him at the appointment, and he did he came clean at the appointment. And I just remember bawling.
Yeah.
Bawling. And when we left the appointment, I was in such a daze, and he had told me in the appointment that he wanted a divorce. And I was just like, I thought my world was just like, he had never said that word before, ever. And that was 18 years of marriage at that point. And yeah, I mean, it's just, we started to drive home, and I remember getting this like panic attack in the car, and I just had like, pull over. And I just kept like telling him to pull over, and he did. And I just whipped the car door open and got out. I was just like hyperventilating in this parking lot. I don't even know where we were. And he came around, and he just held me, and I just sobbed in his arms. And I don't even remember how long we stood there for. Actually, whenever we drive past that spot now, I just like remember that he just held me. And I don't know if I knew at that point. I was just like, no, we are not doing that. We are not doing this. And so I just really fought for my marriage at that point. And it was a very hard road. And I did not know the skills at that point. And we did reconcile about 6 months later. And
how did you do that? Like, what happened there? He moved out.
He moved out. We just really tried. We just talked and communicated all the time. And even though he seemed really determined, I mean, we had lawyers, it was all drawn up, like we were divorcing. It wasn't just a separation. And it was civil at times, but not civil at other times, like, Cold Wars and hanging up on each other and, storming out of homes. But there was just always something that I was like, no, like we are not doing this. And and I would say now, knowing the skills and looking back, I definitely could have used them and used them more then. But I think communication was a big one. And I think I was showing more respect to him,
Without even knowing. Yeah.
even through a divorce. And I think I was more grateful when he would do things.
Wow.
And because he wasn't there. And so when he would come home or would, come pick up the kids or something, if he did something for me, I was grateful, and I would let him know that. So I think without knowing it, I was doing some of the skills. And duct tape was a big one, without knowing it back then too.
Using the duct tape. And your kids are teenagers at this point, probably, yeah? Or like
they were in their early teens. Yeah.
early teens. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
And so you were like intuitively using some skills before you knew
Mhm.
about the intimacy skills the way you do now. And then you
Mhm.
reconciled. So, okay. So he comes back home. He moves back in. Is that
Yeah,
right?
I came back home. Yeah, he came back home, and it was great. It was so awesome. And, this other person was not in our lives anymore, and we could just, it was like we had just got married again or started dating again, and it was just so fun. And then the COVID hit, and that's when things got unfun. And, we were locked down in the house. That's when the finance stuff started hitting again, the stress of that. And I really, now that I know the skills, I can see how I just instantly went back to being controlling, and stressed, and the connection that we had built after we got back together very, really very quickly came apart again because of stress. And I feel like now when I look back, I just really let that all consume me. And it just put this division again.
And to be fair, you probably didn't have any support. And yeah, you didn't really have the structure of the skills. And so, yeah, it kind of went back to the way it was
It
after
did, like, it
the
did.
crisis had passed, kind of
It
thing.
did. We had really tried to build a church community again when we got back together. It's always been really important to us. And I think that really helped. And then, of course, COVID, and then we couldn't go anymore. And so it just felt like we had like all of these roller coasters. Actually, I quite often was like, please let me off of this.
Oh gosh. Well, it's a really good point too. Like losing your community, that is huge.
Mhm.
It's hard to stay optimistic without
Mhm.
connecting with other people. Yeah, like-minded.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. And
so
so COVID hit, and then business kind of dropped off, and we ended up selling our beautiful acreage. And not just because of all of that, it was something we had talked about, but I think just the actual act of doing it was like, oh, we're actually selling this now. And so we sold that. And I think, yeah, it was just this weird time of selling things, and business things weren't working out, and we'd have a good idea, and then it was just really up and down. And again, look at the connection, just really, yeah, really just getting further and further apart. It felt like that we were going back to the way it was.
the cohorts are coming back and
Yeah. Yeah, and some, a lot of hard stuff with kids was in there. And so I think that came up too again, just with me being very controlling that way. You're a mama bear. It's just instinctual. I think that it's going to be your way. And I have a completely different mindset now about that. But yeah, it's kind of hard to explain. um, we ended up selling our business, which was a relief. Um, And we had just prayed for this next step. Like, where are we going next? Like, what is the next adventure going to be? And it ended up being that we went back to camp ministry, to the same place that we had met. And we were so excited about it.
It's cute.
Because, we're now living where we lived when we first got married. Our kids are here. They get to see where what was such a big part of our youth and where your parents met. And we just were like, oh my goodness, like we were just so excited for this opportunity, and dived right into that. And if you've ever been in ministry, it's usually pretty like full on. It can be pretty crazy, chaotic, and it's not a 9 to 5 by any means. And some unforeseen circumstances. My husband had to go to our other location, so it was about another hour and a half away, and I had to stay back because we still had kids in senior high. And again, I had some health issues and had to have surgery. And it's just like, I had to stay back while he kind of just went on and got to work in this ministry that we were supposed to be doing together, but we were separated. And it just felt, it wasn't at all the first time at all. But it just started to feel like the first time, like the distance. And I just started to get a lot of these same feelings, even though I knew it was not, nothing was happening. Like I knew that. But it just, this distance between us crept in again, this major distance. And he was just happy again, and so full of life, and so excited about life, and what he was doing. And I was just like, but I'm not a part of it. And I was just getting like, it was just getting more and more distance, but he was getting more and more happy. And some major Cold Wars again about all the same similar things, like finances, kids, all of those things we all have to deal with. But like, they were just these blowout fights. And I remember one day, well, it was over Christmas, and I was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And I actually started to pack my stuff. And then I was just like, no, we're not doing this. And it always came back to like this, no.
You had some sort of inner compass that was just
Yep.
deadlocked on no, like my marriage is my marriage. So, but this is you this time saying like, I can't live like this.
Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'll be pink now.
Okay.
Sorry. And yeah. And so we just kind of went through, this is in 2023 and just a couple years ago. And we just really went again on our own lives. I was doing my thing over here. He was doing his thing over there. He ended up really injuring himself in an accident. It was not workplace related or anything, but really injuring himself, was hospitalized. And I think I just knew things shifted when he got hurt, and he wanted to go back to the other place, didn't want to come home. And I was just like,
that's weird.
And then we had a major fight about that. And I was just like, no, you're coming home. Like, that's what you do. And he didn't want to. And I was just like this light bulb of like, he does not want to come home to me. And there was a few more months of just really this weird, awkward, things are not going well. I feel like I'm trying, but I'm not. I don't really know what to do.
But you're feeling rejected, I'm sure.
Oh, fully rejected.
Abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Scary.
But he was like living his, like he was just doing so well. Like I could tell he was so happy. And I was just like, and he was happy without me.
Ugh.
And I
You
still,
were.
at that moment, you're not like, clue in here that the reason he doesn't want to be at home is because of you.
Well,
And
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't. No. I
You don't
mean,
think that. It's like, what's
no.
wrong with you, mister?
Yes. 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 Yes, exactly.
That's and
Normal husband would want to be with his wife, right? Like it's,
yeah.
I
So it
mean,
was I was felt very rejected. I was very hurt because here we were where we had prayed so hard to be. And now it's our life is crumbling here.
yeah.
And that, in September 24, so just, 8 months ago, 10 months ago now, he ended up leaving his position where we worked and moved out. And it was very
Moved
very
out.
quick. Hmm.
Like
It was very
came back
quick.
from where he was, got his stuff and
Hmm.
took it somewhere else.
Hmm.
Okay. So
Yeah.
we did double
He
rejected
just,
before. Okay.
he told me he quit. And I said, well, I didn't, it was very shocking for me. And I just
He
said, well,
didn't tell you he was.
no. And I just said, I can't just leave. And he said he didn't ask me. I said, like, I just can't go with you. And he said he didn't ask me to. And I was just like, oh.
Oh,
And I mean, again, I was like, I can't believe this is happening again. I mean, completely different situation. Nothing like the first time, but the feelings were all very similar. I mean, it didn't hurt any less this time. And I just couldn't believe it. I could not believe that we were going to be doing this again. And he was gone. He moved an hour and a half away, other direction, and got a different job, and that was it. We were divorcing.
divorcing.
Mm-hmm.
Like that
And
was
so,
his intention. He was saying, I quit my job. I'm moving out. We're divorcing.
uh-huh.
And you had been there just in December, kind of feeling like, okay, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want this either. But you kind of,
I didn't want. Yeah, I didn't want how it was going. I didn't want the marriage we had,
and you didn't
and so
have
I
anything
knew.
to change it. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and so that is when I found your book, and I knew. I was like, no, I'm not divorcing. We are not doing this, even though everyone was like, girl,
It's over.
be done
Yeah.
already. Like,
You deserve
stop.
better, right? They were
Yeah.
probably saying,
Mm-hmm.
if he doesn't
And
want
I
you,
was,
let him go, right?
yep. And we had major Cold Wars. We would, I mean, gosh, like really, why wouldn't you just walk away? And now I see why a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But I was just like, no, I don't want this. And I kept telling him that I do not want this. And it's when, yeah, I Googled, I just got on the computer that September and I was just like, I don't remember what I Googled, but you came and I just clicked
Yeah.
and I downloaded your book like that, like right then. And I think I read it that night. And I had it on my Kindle and I just read it front to back. And I was like, this is amazing. And why? I just knew this is it. Like I have finally found it. I have finally found what to do. And so I immediately started using the skills, like immediately.
What did you start doing?
The first one for sure was duct tape. And I still, to this day, like I envision putting duct tape on my mouth. Because we were still separated. We were still like, so there was a lot of moments that I was just like thinking to myself, duct tape, Sandra, duct tape, Sandra. And I just would be quiet. And I think that was the one I definitely started using first, along with self-care.
Hmm.
Immediately went to
What I
self-care.
I think when some people hear about duct tape, they think like, okay, she's just supposed to keep her mouth shut. Like you're just not supposed to say what you're thinking or feeling. So like,
No, it's not.
that's not duct tape. Okay. So how are you using duct tape, Sandra?
Honestly, I think it's more for me, it's like not saying what I'm thinking immediately. That's what for me duct tape is about
Like buying
most of the
yourself some
time.
time to,
I need to just let, like, I don't need to always say what is on my mind. I don't always need to say the first reaction, my first thoughts to something. I don't always need to, because I can reword things, or I maybe need 10 minutes before we actually have this conversation, or whatever it is. Or I need to have 3 deep breaths before. Like, to me, that's what duct tape is. It's like
gotcha.
taking a moment.
And what can you get from taking that moment that you wouldn't have had if you would have just shared your thoughts immediately?
Well, I mean, we just have such calmer communication
Wow.
and like productive communication now,
Instead of going into a
instead
Cold
of
War or a big fight.
instead of a Cold War. I'm like really red, but that's okay. Um,
You're pleasantly pink.
it's the pink blinds here. Um, but yeah, I mean, and then self-care was huge. I think even that night, I don't know if I went to bed that night and I was on my phone and I even still have it. And it's like self-care and I just have the 20. You're like, do your 20. So I did. And I started doing them. Like going for a walk was not a chore anymore. It's now like for joy.
Oh,
And I intentionally think about how my body's moving or like how I feel good now during a walk, and not like it's like something I have to do.
that's kind of
Or
amazing because I think a lot of people read this self-care part and say like, wait, I got to get to the part where I fix my marriage. Like I got to skip this part, but not you. You dove right into self-care.
well, I just thought like I'm going to do these skills for me, whether or not we do get back together. I mean, that's what I wanted, and that is what my desire was. But I wasn't doing the skills at that point for him. They were for me. And that was like, it was like for the first time in 24 years of marriage, I was actually doing things for me. And it wasn't like they weren't expensive. I didn't need to like spend money. But it was just like taking the time to actually be intentional about things for me. I had never done that ever. And I was just like, it was just surreal almost to be like this person, because I'd never done it.
It must have
Yeah,
felt great. It must have felt amazing too.
yeah. So like be intentional about taking a bath. Like we all take baths, we all shower, but to like what does that like mean for that 20 minutes or whatever it is? And I definitely, it was like a mind shift for me.
Wow.
And started gardening and started, what else? I started crocheting. I was kind of picking up my grandma hobbies at that point, but I started making sourdough. like,
Oh, those are good ones.
just things that were just nice and fun. And I was still working in ministry. I was still there. So it's like I was still working these crazy, crazy hours, but I was so intentional about making time for myself. And I was happy. Like I was so happy.
Wow.
And I don't
Yeah.
think I'd ever been that happy before.
Really? And this is because a couple of times in your story, you could notice your husband being so happy, so happy.
Uh-huh.
No, at this part of the story, Sandra's so happy. And it's because you're
So
being
happy.
intentional
Uh-huh.
about your self-care, like
Uh-huh.
intentional about the experiences you were probably already having, but maybe
Yeah,
just kind of looking at them through different glasses.
absolutely. And I took a course that was, every week. And I took it just to, so I would have something to do, meet new people. It was, a really good course just for, getting free from things in your life. And I was like, sign me up. Like If anybody needs that, that's me. And but doing that and the skills, I was just like, I was just so happy. And even just talking about it just makes me happy.
Oh,
Even
I
though
can
it's
see, I can see it on you actually right now. Yeah, you do. You kind of have a glow about you,
yeah,
like joy glow coming off of you.
yeah.
Now, your husband's an hour and a half away, so he doesn't know that you're happy.
No, I mean, we were mostly, communicating primarily through text at first. And that was one thing with the skills. I'm like, how am I supposed to do this? We don't even live together. And that's why I really just focused on the ones that I knew I could do very easily while still being apart. And that was those two. But even just in my responses, and then I started doing like more respect and gratitude in my texts and in my phone calls. And I think it was just starting to be like, oh, maybe it would be okay to be around her now. Like maybe she's not going to be this angry fly off the handle. Cause I did. I flew off the handle so many times. I will never go back to that. I will never be that person again.
So I have a lot of questions about this because I think this is really an interesting part of the story because I don't think you're the only wife and mom who flew off the handle a whole bunch of times, but it sounds like from the way you're describing it, you have an option. You have a different option now. That's not,
Absolutely.
you don't have to fly out. That's not going to be a compulsory behavior like it was.
Yeah.
And so, and how did that change?
I honestly think because I was focused so much on finding joy in the things I was doing that I no longer looked to my husband to provide that for me. It wasn't his job any longer. Because I think for so long I expected him to be that, to be my joy giver, and he never was. Because that's not his job. It's not his job to do it. And I think, now that him and I have talked so much about so many things, he felt that. He felt that he could not make me happy because I was never happy. And he said that to me. He's just like, you're never happy. And I was just like, and I wasn't.
And of course you're going to lose your temper, right? If you're never getting anything that you want, like you're never getting to feel happy. Like who's not going to be at least a little grumpy, right? If not a full blown rageaholic, let's say. And, so, I mean, for anybody who's listening and thinking like, yeah, I have that too. Like, is there a cure for that? Like you found it.
Absolutely. Like I listen to your podcast all the time, as much as I could then and now, still do it now. And another skill that I just find so important, especially for me, is staying on my paper. That how I react is on me and how he reacts on him. And that, I tell everybody about the skills, everybody. I even tell my own children about them. If they come to me with something and I'm like, that's on their paper and this is on yours. And at first they're like, what? And I'm like, just pretend you're at school. Great from your book. And I'm like, and you're writing a test and you don't look at other people's answers because they could be wrong. And what they put on their paper is for their grade, and what you put on yours is for yours. And like when I read that in your book, I was just like, that makes so much sense. And I visualize it all the time now. Like I even like look over, I catch myself, and I'm just like, that's on his paper, or that's on their paper, and this is on yours, Sandra. And I think it helps me duct tape for a second, and it just helps me regroup. And either we figure it out, or we have, we go from there. But it's those initial like moments to be like, okay, and then you carry on. I think that's, for me, is the biggest thing that the skills have taught me, is like, it doesn't all have to be initial reaction. And it just take that moment.
So it sounds like you're able to respond in a much more dignified, self-possessed way most of the time. And it kind of sounds like a superpower because, I mean, sometimes people are rude or people are mean or people are disappointing, right? Teenagers have a certain reputation, right? So, and you've got three, maybe they're not teenagers anymore, but
no, they're all young adults now.
young adults now. Okay. All right. So no matter how someone's reacting, like, yeah, so you do that duct tape and you're like, okay, Sandra, back on your paper. What's on your paper now? And that's kind of how you're doing it. So this must have made you feel a lot more confident.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. So confident. I am able to, express my desires, and that one took a little while for me. Cause they're definitely like I don't think you can go and do like all the skills all the next day. That's not really going to be feasible for anybody. I think there's a progression, for me anyway. But I can definitely we got back together. I'll kind of backtrack here, but we just communicated so well between September and December. There was some moments that, I could tell I didn't duct tape and it ended up in a fight and a phone call hang up or whatever. And I just would immediately be like Sandra, you could have reacted so differently, and, so Christmas of 24.
Wait, so you weren't mad at him for hanging up on you? You were saying
initially
to yourself, I was. Sure, of course, yeah, right. And you wouldn't be, right? You were really accountable. It sounds like, though, for how you showed up on those conversations right after you were mad that he was hanging up on you.
And then I'd say the biggest one, that was in December, and I started to apologize. And that was a big, big thing for me. I just, and a lot of stuff was through text because he was still gone. And I just said, I apologize for how I reacted in that conversation, or however, so I do that, so it comes so much easier to me now. But I haven't done that. I didn't do that in 24 years of marriage, ever.
Wow. You were apologizing to him for the first time. And it sounds like a very accountable way. Like, I apologize.
Yeah. And then, I use your script, and at first I was like, there's no way I could ever do this.
That's right. That's right. It's impossible, right? Yeah. Yeah.
But
so you didn't much care for this idea at first.
No. No, I didn't. I was like, I could never do that. I could never. But now it's like, yes, actually. And it's so crazy because he'll do it too now. Oh, he will apologize. Or so at Christmas, we were still separated this past Christmas. And we wanted to spend Christmas with our children. They were all coming home to my house, and we were all going to spend Christmas together. So we met in the city to get groceries. And I was expressing desires of I haven't had that coffee. And I was just starting to work with the desire skill and how to express it well. And I was still trying to learn that. And I think a big part of it was I was getting upset when he wouldn't meet them, when he wouldn't do them. I still hadn't figured it all out. So I've now learned when you express a desire, I don't have the, I'm not expecting him to do it.
Just hoping.
Yeah. I mean, it would be lovely if you did, but I'm not going to my whole day is not going to be ruined if you don't. Right?
Gotcha. I'm not going to punish you if you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we met and I was like, oh, I would love, like, it would be so great to have that. Like, we could go for, I can't remember what I said, but I don't think I did it right at all. And obviously, because he didn't do it.
Right.
And I went to my car because we put everything in the car, and he says, okay, well, I'll see you in a couple days then. And I was like, oh, because like I had driven an hour and a half to the city, and I was just crushed. And I was like, I don't think we're going to make it. Like, I feel like I've been working so hard and we make all this progress. And then I just got into a real low right that moment. And I was like, I don't think this is going to work. And I remember phoning my pastor, and I just was just crying and bawling in the car. And she just said, who do you put your hope in, Sandra? And where does your joy come from? And I just was like, because I was putting it all in my husband. And from that day on, I was like, no more. And it just kind of kicked me, she gave me a kick in the rear end and just said, like, enough. And I went shopping that day, and I got myself my coffee, and I had fun. And I was just like, I'm just going to start living my life.
You got yourself that coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And from in a spirit of joy, not just like, I'll get it myself. Right? No one else is going to get it for me. I'm going
to get myself that cup of coffee because I really want to have a coffee right now. And we went through Christmas, and it was kind of awkward, like a Christmas in a separate, it was just weird. And I, at the same time, again, I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this again, because we had done this before. And I just said, because his birthday is on New Year's Day. And I kind of had said, like, asked the kids, like, what are you guys doing for New Year's? And it's not really a thing I love spending. It's not a big thing for me. So I don't go all crazy over it. And they all had plans. I mean, they're young adults. I knew they'd have plans. And I just, I just said how great it would be to spend New Year's to spend his birthday with him. I can't remember how I said it. But I didn't have that expectation that we would spend it together. I just told him it would be really great to be able to see him on his birthday. And so that, December 31st, my daughter was home for a little bit. We had some appetizers, and then I was like, okay, I'm just going to go run a bath. I'm going to read my book. I lit some candles, and I was just going to go watch a movie afterwards and call it a night. Like, that was my plan. And I was totally content with it, happy. And then I just heard a knock on the door. And I was like, I just was like, no. And he opened the door, and he came home for New Year's Eve and for his birthday. Wow. And I was I wanted to be just run into his arms and, go, but I was like, stay calm. And I did.
There he is.
Yeah. I was shocked. And he just said, well, I thought it would be really nice if we could spend New Year's Eve and my birthday together. And I wanted to just shout from the rooftop. And I was like, I would love that. I would really love that. And I said, I was just running a bath for myself. And he said, he just said, yeah, like, and I said, I want to go have my bath. Like, and he's like, yeah, absolutely. Like, go have your bath. And old me honestly would have been like, no, go and run downstairs, turn the water off, run back upstairs and, practically sit on his lap. But, I just was like, I'm going to have my bath because it's important to me. And that was my plan. And so I did. I had my bath, and I read my book, and then I went upstairs, and we just talked all night. And, he had his room upstairs because he had been coming quite frequently on weekends by that point, and had his room upstairs. And we went to bed well before midnight, and just woke up, and I made him breakfast that morning. And I think from that point on, it it just was really good. It was just really good.
Did he sleep in your bed that night?
No,
Okay, he
no,
was still in his own room.
yeah,
And
yeah.
did you have an awareness of like, oh my gosh, I magnetized him. Like I'm an irresistible magnet right now. You knew
Mm-hmm.
you were.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a part of you, the irresistible magnet's like, I'm still having that bath. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is for me. That was my plan. I'm not like going to empty my paper and just glom it onto his paper now just because
Yeah.
he's back, even though,
Because I've done that for 24 and a half years, right? With kids, with him, I always put everything for me on the back burner.
yeah,
And I just had learned since September that I'm not doing that anymore. And it wasn't like it was easy. I mean, September to December was hard, really hard.
I bet. Kind of a heartbreaking. You're probably crying yourself to sleep a lot.
Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah. And I had to have my gallbladder out in January. And he had mentioned that he would take me for that because he just said like, let me know when surgery is and I'd like to take you. And I was just like, what? And he did. He came home and I told him when the surgery was because you don't find out till like a week before. And he's like, I'll make sure I'm there. And I was just like,
Here's your
it
hero.
was, yeah. And he did. He came home that night before we had to go that morning and he took me and that day, because it was just, I came home that afternoon and I kind of wondered if he'd have to go back to work that night. And for the first time in 24 and a half years, I wasn't upset that he had to go back to work. And I think that day I knew that there was a change and that things were going to be okay because he had made, he was there for me on his own. Like he wanted to be there, but I also was okay that he wasn't there, that he had to go home. I was okay with that. And I didn't get anxious about it. I didn't get upset about it. And I just said like, again, just gratitude for being there and for taking me and, you know, thank you and all that stuff. And then, yeah, we hung out so much every weekend after that. He was coming home.
So you knew that day, it just sounds like it kind of clicked in. Like, it sounds like you knew your marriage was going to make it that night, even though he left for work and you didn't get upset. Like, that's how you knew? Like, I mean, I like it.
Yeah,
I mean,
just knew.
it's real.
Yeah, this time around, it was divorce again. Like there was lawyers on my part. I got a lawyer again, and I had told her not like she was actually kind of pushy about things, and I was like, no, like I didn't want it, and I said hold off. We're tabling this for right now, and I've never contacted her again. That was it.
Wow. And that was the turnaround. And so, okay, what happened then? I mean, did he come home?
He came home in February, so the surgery was in January, and we about 2 weeks after the surgery, we actually went just kind of on a little mini date. We went for a walk to these frozen waterfalls that we've gone to before, and I think that was the first time we had spent time together, just us on a little mini date like that, and I don't even know how long. And it was just nice. Like we just talked and it was so nice. And then I wasn't really sure how Valentine's Day would go. And I think it was middle of the week this year. And I was like, well, I just guess I'll see him on the weekend. Cause we were hanging out every weekend. It was just really, really good. And we were starting to talk about reconciliation and him moving home and what that could look like. And, I think Wednesday was Valentine's and I kept asking my daughter, like, what are you up to? Like, what should we do? And then he came home. The door opened and there he was. And he had sushi for supper for us and flowers. And I was blown away.
Like a romantic comedy, like that. Like a movie.
Like he drove an hour and a half and came home and brought, it was just amazing. Like, oh, it was so great.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It must have just knocked you. I mean, you must have been like $1 million,
Yep.
but also just, yeah, like probably took your breath away to.
It did. And ever since then, like we reconciled pretty much then. And yeah, we've actually I ended up leaving my job. And we moved back to our farm. We have a farm. And right now we're just like taking this opportunity of like this season of rest for us and reconnection. And it has been amazing. And, we do yard work together and we just have fun. But there's not that weird, like that. It's just different. And I actually used the word sparkly the other day, but yes, you use that all the time. And I just said to him, like, I just love how our marriage is so fun and sparkly now. And he just looked at me like, sparkly? And I'm like, yeah, it's sparkly. And it is. It really is.
Sparkly. I mean, that is like, that's what everybody dreams about, right? Having it sounds romantic, like you are, and it sounds like you're describing this period of rest and reconnection. And I just kind of picture the two of you being in a little cocoon and the romance of that. And it's a sparkly cocoon.
It is.
It's a bedazzled cocoon. And it sounds like, I guess I just kind of hear confidence too, like those breakdowns you had before the affair and the time he just wasn't coming home and you were feeling so rejected, like, you don't sound worried that could happen again.
No, I'm not at all. And, a lot of people I think are, and that's fair.
Like people like who?
I think some family on my side, for sure. And I get it. They've been hurt too.
Yeah. Sure. And they probably heard what you were going through and wanted to protect you. And maybe part of that is like making him bad to protect you. Is that fair?
Yeah. But I stand for marriage. I do. And I knew that it was not an option, even though we were very close to it twice, but it was not an option for me. And it is so amazing now. I honestly can't even describe it.
Well, describe it.
I mean, there was some trees on our property that I wanted, for years. I wanted them kind of cleared and just made a little bit nicer and make them look better. And, I'm sure I've asked a million times. And we were out there moving some stuff over there. And I just said, oh, it would be so nice to be able to see past the trees into the open there. And I just I just said it in passing and we're moving stuff and went home that night because we were moving out of the house. And the next day I came back at evening and he had been working there all day and they were clear. He had moved every branch. He cleared everything. Like, it was a lot of work.
That sounds like a lot of work. And see through it then?
Oh yeah. And I was just like, I just was speechless. And just things like that. Like, and I didn't have an expectation that it would get done. But I sure had a lot of gratitude that it got done.
So he felt appreciated.
And a lot of respect that, I think that's the biggest thing I think he feels respected now. And, I don't ask anymore. I just, if either, if there's something, like, it would be great if that, could get done, or I would love if, or, and not everything, but that's okay. But I would say honestly, 9.5 times out of 10, he does, and we do it together, or, yeah, it's amazing.
It is amazing. And so it's like 90% of the time, just your desire is enough, and he takes initiative and takes action. What about that 1 out of 10 time when you want something and he just doesn't? What do you do?
I just go about my day. Honestly, it doesn't bother me. I don't get stressed out about it. I don't, if it's something that I can do, and I'll either do it, or it's not a big deal that it doesn't get done. And I don't let it ruin my day or come in between him and I. We were moving some waterers and a few days ago, and they were spilling anyway, and I kind of just like, where are you going? Or I can't remember what I said, but I kind of reacted, and I just looked up, and I was just like, I am so sorry. That is not, I said, that didn't warrant a response like that. And he's just like, it's all good. But I didn't. Why do I need, because like you said earlier, duct taping and, taking a moment or staying on your paper is not being a doormat. And I think that is one huge misconception. And that's one thing I tell people a lot of the time, because I've had it said to me, well, it's not all your fault, or you shouldn't be doing all the changes. Well, but I'm actually not doing all the changes. I'm not doing it for him. I'm doing this for me. And it's because of the changes I'm making that we have this amazing marriage.
You get all the credit for that, for sure. And it sounds like you're just a happier Sandra.
Oh, fully happier.
And
Yeah.
even if you hadn't gotten your marriage back,
I was going to be happy.
you're still going to get to take that bath and read that book and watch that movie and have the candle and feel dignified and like have a nice clean paper that you could admire. But it turns out you're actually an irresistible magnet to your husband. And you make yourself happy. So, and even just, I just love that moment of like you saying like, watch where you're going. And then like, I am so sorry, like catching yourself. Like it's quick, right? That first apology took 24 years. And now the apologies come, it sounds like, within minutes. So
yeah, I would say too, like I've relinquished all control of finances at this point.
You have?
Yeah.
But you knew best how to do them.
I know. But I was doing them very badly. And that took, honestly, Laura, that was like I needed that one. I needed to be able to do that one last thing, to like for it to just be all, to be able to, that I completed, not that I've completed, because this is ongoing, but that I'm doing all the skills, all of them now. And when we had that conversation, I bawled. I bawled all day, having to give up that control. And I just told him, I can't do this anymore. Like I can't do the money I can't. And I still have a bit of a hard time with the I can't one, but finances, I'm not. And honestly, I have never been more relieved and more like a weight lifted off my shoulder now that he does them. And, I'll catch myself little things. And even today he said, could you transfer money to the credit card? And I said, I can't. And I said, I can't, because I'm not doing that anymore.
Did he get mad?
Nope. He just took out his phone and did it, because I did it for so long. I have done all of it. And so that I think it was just a default for him too. just to ask me to do it. But I'm so glad that I didn't do it, because I could have very easily done it. But I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah.
Well, let's dig into that a little bit, because you're saying I could have done it, but you told him I can't. So what was it about it that made you say I can't?
I think I can't, for me in that moment, was I can't slip back into bad habits.
Mm,
And
beautiful.
I could have so easily done it. But I think for both of us in that moment, me saying I can't was so huge, for us continuing forward in all this. Yeah.
And he wasn't upset, and it doesn't sound like you didn't think he would be.
No.
Does it ever get scary? Like, this is a guy that was unfaithful. He's left you. There's been divorce talk. He's got all the money. Like, you get scared?
No, no, not at all.
Wow.
No, I trust him a million percent. We are so equally yoked now, and we just weren't before. We were just like this over everything. And it's not that I've just been like, okay, I'll do everything you say. That is not it at all. Because I think that's another misconception.
Yeah.
It is, we are in this together. We make decisions together. But I also respect that he is, he is my husband. And I think that's just it's just everything. I did not respect him and before. And yeah, and we are equally yoked, and we are not just like this two oxen going in different directions anymore.
Yeah. Great visual, right? Well, so, and it sounds like you're in love.
Oh goodness, yes. I love that man. Like, I love him so much. And I know I tell him that all the time, and he's like, I know you love me. But I do. I love him so much. And I mean, he is worth fighting for every second of every day, for always. And I think he would say the same thing about me now. Whereas it wasn't like that before.
Yeah.
And I love who I am now. And I think that is also just like, I love me. I love, and not in a conceited like way.
No,
I just love like I'm in love, and I'm just so happy.
and it could just like, we're meeting remotely online here, but the joy just kind of jumps off of you. I could just see it. There's a lot of glow there. You're in love, and I feel it. Like, it's attractive. It's attractive. So I can imagine your husband's in love with you, being in love with yourself too. Like, it all hangs together. So, like, what's your tip though for somebody who is where you were? Like, I mean, pick a time, right? Like, your husband just had an affair. You're bawling on the side of the road. You've pulled over to bawl because your whole life is falling apart. Or he's living an hour and a half away and he won't come home, and you feel so rejected, and you want, the woman you're giving this tip to, she wants what you have, where he's clearing the trees for you and showing up with sushi and, for Valentine's Day, and that he's like, you're so in love, and that he's taking care of the finances for you. Like, she wants to feel taken care of like you do. And she wants your self-control that you have, where there's no flying off the handle because you've got your duct tape and you've got your confidence. What's your tip? What should she do?
Yeah, when I was thinking about this one, like, I would say self-care, honestly. I think without self-care, I don't think that any of the skills really will work well, anyway, for me. I think if you can start, like, I wish I had heard, I wish someone had told me about self-care when I started having kids and when I got married, because we are only one person. We are human beings. We cannot, we cannot draw from an empty tank. And I did not know that for so long. Like, if you think about it, like a quarter of a century, that's a long time to not have self-care.
Were you mad that no one ever told you?
I honestly, I have thought about it, and I'm like, why isn't this talked about? Why are we not preparing young people, or who at whatever age you get married? And it's not even just for married people. Like self-care, duct tape. I mean, it's for all relationships. All these skills are for all relationships. And I talk to my children about them. I talk to my friends. I talk to my hairdresser about it. And I was telling her about them. And and I'm sending her your book and your links and all that stuff. And I say self-care is the one I talk the most about. Because we cannot, like you say, happy people attract happy people.
Can't even have
Right?
a only happy people have happy relationships, right? You can't really even have one. So, okay. So I love that answer. Now, how has all of this impacted your kids? They're grown, but has it impacted them?
Yeah, I mean, our boys they don't live at home anymore. They're going off to school, and our daughter is still living at home. She's graduated and working, but still living at home. And honestly, I think I don't know. She seems more happy. Um, I hope we're giving them a good example of how a marriage can be, because they've seen how it shouldn't be. I think, it's been a lot of hard things for them. And I hope that they just see two people who do love each other, and that it is worth fighting for, and that it's worth sticking it out, but not, in an unhappy way, not just staying in something that still makes you miserable, to actually be part of the change. And because I think in our society, and things that our kids are hearing and seeing so much is like, it's all the guy's fault, or it's nobody's fault. It's not one person's, even an affair is not one person's fault. And I think that really does come across in society, that, and at the time, yeah, I did feel that way, but, we can all make changes to better relationships. And I think it's two people. Two people can make changes, and yeah, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I'm interested to hear a little more about that, because at the time of the affair, of course, you felt like the victim, but it doesn't sound like you see it the same way now.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I mean, I definitely did at the time. I mean, I was mad, obviously, and
Obviously.
hurt and angry and all the
Yes.
things.
Rightly so.
But now, and even after the first reconciliation, I understood more about why, why he didn't want to be at home, or why, and so yeah, it's not that I'm going to say it's his fault or my fault, but there's definitely reasons on why it happened. And why would someone want to still do those things? Like, why would I want to still be the person that I was? I want to make good changes. I want to be a good I want to be happy.
Yeah, you want to be happy, and I think you want to be a good wife.
Mm-hmm.
Like it sounds like you feel like you're a good wife, a better wife
Mm-hmm.
than you were then, and it doesn't sound like you feel like you could be victimized again.
No.
So that sounds very empowered.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say to Sandra if you could go back in time and tell her what you know now?
I would tell her that everything's going to be okay. And just to keep to keep fighting for what you believe in. And I would tell her that she is a strong, strong woman, and that things are going to be okay. Yeah.
Just kind of
Because a lot of the time I just didn't feel that way. You don't feel that things are going to work out, or that they will be okay.
No.
Or that, and there was times that I thought it would be easier if we did just part ways. Because it was, honestly, sometimes it was easier.
Yeah.
And sometimes I was getting used to being, alone last fall. And he did too. And we talked about it, how we both were enjoying,
The solitude.
our solitude and living on our own. But we both never had that. We essentially both moved out the day we got married. And so we never had that time to ourselves. And I do sometimes miss it, but I don't know.
Solitude can be part of self-care too, right? Like just getting to hear your own thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's fantastic. I mean, it's quite a story. And you even mentioned like not everybody can appreciate your perspective of how much value there was, all the worth in going on this journey. But I sure do. I sure appreciate your courage, your vulnerability, and then really fixing your family. And I want to my best wife award.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Sandra. It's I can't think of anything that I think is more impressive as an accomplishment than becoming your best self and becoming magnetic and fixing your marriage, fixing your whole family, like who knows what Christmas it's 2025 is going to be like, right? With
I can't wait.
The 5 of you, right? Or if your kids can come home or whatever, but yeah, it's not going to be that awkward one that you've described from years past. So anyway, I just want to congratulate you and say how uplifting it is to get to hear your story.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing all the, there's some details, right, that are so personal, so vulnerable. And, but it just really creates connection. It creates a kind of a community, like everybody who's listening who has felt that way or is feeling that way. Yeah. Including me, right? Everybody who's ever raged or felt so rejected. You're just that beacon of hope of what's possible.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandra. For more of the proven secrets on how to make your marriage playful and passionate without his conscious effort, check this out.